Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Spiritism Philosophy for All. Today's topic, it is very important to all of us because we usually assume a role whenever we are in trouble. Most people, whenever they experience some sort of emotional discomfort, whenever they are in trouble, whenever they find themselves in pain, they usually see themselves through the lenses of being a victim. They fulfill the role of a victim. Now, whenever someone chooses to be a victim, they also choose unconsciously to be very weak. And why is that? Well, if I am a victim, it means someone did something to me. Someone harmed me. Someone caused my pain. So I point fingers at other people, accusing them for causing my pain. But there is a big problem with being a victim. You see, wherever we see the cause of our problems is also where we see the solution to our problems. For example, if your car breaks down and it's the battery, what's the cause of the problem? The battery. What is the solution to your problem? To replace the battery, to change the battery. So, if I am in pain, if I am in trouble, and I'm accusing people for producing my emotional discomfort, it could be people such as my ex-wife, my ex-husband, my ex-boss, a neighbor, my stepmother, my stepfather. Someone is responsible for my pain. If I see them as being the cause of my problem, I also see them as being the solution to my problem. In other words, in order for my life to improve, I am expecting these people to change. Because remember, wherever we see the cause of the problem is also where we see the solution to the problem. If my car breaks down and it's the battery, what is the solution to the problem? To change the battery. So if I blame my ex-boss for being the cause of my pain, I am expecting this individual to change in order for my life to improve. If I'm expecting my ex-wife, my ex-husband, my stepmother, my stepfather, someone who caused my pain to change in order for my life to improve, all I'm doing, I'm just prolonging my misery. And why is that? Well, that's because people don't change to please other people. Please don't get me wrong. People do change, but they change for themselves and not to please someone else. So if I see myself as being a victim, I'm expecting these unchangeable people to change. This is why being a victim makes me a very weak individual. Because there's nothing else to do besides experience the full misery of being a victim and pointing fingers at others. Not realizing that on top of all this misery, I am creating a symptom described by psychiatrists, by psychoanalysts, entitled anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a sensation that we feel when we want something to change, when we want something to happen, and it doesn't. Therefore, if I am a victim, I'm expecting unchangeable people to change. And on top of that, I'm experiencing anxiety because I'm waiting for their transformation. And anxiety becomes very detrimental to our emotional health. Why? Well, that's because anxiety changes sensation of our time. The more anxious one is, the slower time passes by for us. In other words, if I'm experiencing 10 minutes of anxiety, the sensation, the emotion that I experience, it changes how I feel time. And in reality, to me, I'm experiencing half an hour of this very uncomfortable emotion. So being a victim, not only I am suffering, but at the same time, I am prolonging the sensation of suffering because I am expecting unchangeable people to change. So as you can see, dear viewer, there is nothing to gain from being a victim. Even if you arrive at the conclusion that you are indeed, that the moment that the disturbance happened to you, that the moment you were harmed, you were completely powerless. There was nothing that you could have done to prevent what took place, even if you conclude that you were a true victim. The question is, can you actually get into a time travel machine and go back in the past and change that individual? Can you go back in your past and actually stop that bad moment from happening? No, you can't. But being a victim leaves us powerless because we are actually expecting unchangeable things to change. But then it begs the question, if I'm not a victim, then who am I? An alternative for being a victim, according to the Spiritist philosophy, it's being responsible. What is to be responsible? You see, the word responsible is made up of two parts. You have able, which means ability, and then you have the first part of the word that means response. Therefore, to be responsible, it means that you're able to give a response to your current situation, which is the opposite of being a victim that leads you to be powerless. Being responsible, it means you are in control. Now, it begs the question, how come? Being responsible, it means that I will look in the inside instead of the outside to see how I can solve my problem. Instead of pointing fingers at others, as a responsible individual, I will ask myself, what is it that I can do for myself as of now to change the current state fair of things? I will ask myself, what is it and how I have contributed to my state of mind? Instead of looking on the outside, I'm asking myself the questions. How I contributed to my pain? How have I produced my misery, my suffering? Was I truly responsible for causing this uncomfortable and very difficult emotional situation for myself? It basically boils down to looking in the inside instead of pointing fingers at outside. But in order to be responsible, one needs to be courageous. It requires so much strength because in order to see that I am the cause, I must be humble, which means I must assume the part I have contributed to cause the problem. So whenever I see myself as being responsible, immediately I become very strong. And why is it? Well, if I am the cause of my problems, then Who becomes the solution to my problems? I am. Now, can I tell myself what to do? Can I tell myself to change? Yes, I can. As a victim, if I blame others for producing my pain, I am expecting them to change. Can I tell these people to change? Can I give them an order and tell them to change? Well, I can. But are they going to obey me? Are they going to listen to my plea? Absolutely not. Because people will do what pleases them, not what pleases you. So they will not obey you. They will not listen to you. But if I see that I am the cause of my problem, therefore I become the solution to my problems, can I tell myself what to change? Yes, I can. And therefore I become immediately strong because I have the power over me. So it is infinitely more advantageous to see that we are the cause of our problems. Seeing ourselves as being responsible, it means we are putting the responsibility of our happiness in our hands. It means that we are taking control. To see ourselves as being the victim, we are giving the control of our happiness to other people's hands. They would not do what we want them to do. It is not within their interest to change their ways in order to please us. But when I have the wisdom, when I have the courage to see I am the one who must do the change, then everything changes. Because now I am in control of my destiny. So now that we have weighed the two options, being a victim and being responsible, one must ask ourselves, why is it, if there is nothing to gain by being a victim, why is it that most people choose to be a victim? Well, that's because by being a victim, there is no work to do. By being a victim, all we need is just our index finger working, which means I will be pointing finger at others. That's it. This is why most people choose to be a victim, because it is an effortless position to be in. On the other hand, being responsible, it requires much work. Because if I realize I am the cause of my problem, it means I must do work in order to change within me certain characteristics of my behavior that produce my pain, my misery, my suffering. It is an effortful position. It's a position in which I have to look within myself and not blame the world for producing the current state of affairs for myself. It is within our responsibility to produce our happiness. It is within our goal, our aim, to achieve peace. And that peace will not be brought to us by other people's hands. It's the result of the work that we do to better ourselves, to get rid of our imperfections, the true sources of our misery. But it requires much wisdom, much courage, and above all, honesty towards ourselves. So our producer here, Marcio, is letting us know that we already have a couple of questions coming from the internet source, and he is passing on to me, and I'm going to read them. As we said in our last show, we try to keep the name of our viewers anonymous because these are very intimate questions they're asking. This is P. Hill from Clark, New Jersey. P. asked, why is it so difficult to see ourselves as being responsible? Well, first of all, thank you, Hill, for viewing our show. We truly appreciate that you are watching us, and please spread the word, because all we want, us here that we work with the Spiritist philosophy, we want to spread the message of being. When we study the behavior of others, and we study how easier it is to be a victim, to expect others to change and put demand on others, then we understand why it is so difficult to see ourselves as being responsible. And because it's so easy to be a victim and it requires so much work to be responsible, throughout the ages, we have developed defense mechanisms to lie to ourselves about our behavior. We have become experts in deceiving ourselves from our own flaws, from our own part in every problem we create. And why? Because if I see that I am responsible, I must do work. It means I must change myself, and change it is so hard. It breaks the status quo and it forces me to go to the next level. And since we get so accustomed in being the status quo, we find all different ways to deceive ourselves to keep ourselves in the same level. But then, if we keep lying to ourselves, if we keep deceiving the motives of our actions, the pain that we feel, the emotional discomfort that we feel by creating unconsciously misery to our lives, don't disappear. It keeps intensifying up until a point that it will one day force us to change the way we think, to change the way we see ourselves. You see, if you observe the behavior of those who have some sort of a physical addiction, a drug addiction, for example, it is known that, drug addicts, substance abusers, they have a keen ability to lie, not only to others, but to lie to themselves. They're so good in lying that they can even believe in their own lies. And the smarter this individual is, and what I mean by smarter, being intellectually developed, the more intellectually developed someone is, better liars they are to themselves. If you are in a helping profession, for example, you will find that it's easier to help those who don't have a college degree, who didn't have the opportunity or the chance or the intellect to go through college and pursue a graduate degree. It is way easier to help someone who is not intellectually developed, who does not have this excellent intellectual ability to lie to themselves. In my own profession, I have found that it's easier to help those who doesn't have higher degrees of education. Because believe it or not, the smarter they are, the more elaborate their lies become to themselves and to others. And as a result, their intelligence do not work on their behalf. Their intelligence actually becomes a barrier for them to be honest with themselves. So in short, to change, it requires work. And since most individuals, they don't want to do any work, they have created elaborate ways to lie themselves, making it very difficult for themselves to see them as being responsible individuals. For them, it's easier to become a victim. Once again, our friend Marcio passed on another question here. And this question is from M. Davis from Mount Vernon, New York. He asked, would you please give us more details what it means to be responsible for our own pain? Thank you, Davis, for watching Spiritism Philosophy for All. Basically, our imperfections or our uncontrolled passions, they create our pain. For example, jealousy is an uncontrolled passion. When we experience jealousy, it means that I believe that my partner, my wife, my girlfriend, my husband, my boyfriend, these people are not someone who are with me. As a jealous individuals, I believe they belong to me. When you hear jealous men, for example, they refer to their wives or their girlfriends as a piece of material that belongs to them. They might refer to their wife on the following. This is my car, that's my phone, this is my wife, and that's my TV, this is my cat, and that's my refrigerator. The wife becomes a piece of their property and not someone that it is with them. People do not belong to us. People are with us. I know phonetically it's easier to refer to someone that it is with us as they belong to us. We use this sentence, and this is my wife and my husband and my children, as if they belong to us. But in reality, people don't belong to us. They are with us. But if I am a jealous man, and I truly believe in my head that my wife is my wife, whenever she's not around me, I'm always thinking that she's up to something else. I don't allow my wife to have a friend, especially if that friend is a male friend, because I am so insecure that I believe that at any moment she can leave me for someone else. There is another aspect of feeling insecure. Let's say I give myself the freedom to have other female companies with me. I allow myself to be with other women, but I don't allow my wife to be around the other men. So since I give myself so much freedom to be with other females, and I constantly think that my wife can be doing the same thing that I am doing with other females, I am projecting my own behavior onto my wife. And as a result, I am constantly thinking that she could be with someone else, that she could be exchanging me or planning to do that, or having a double relationship, an extramarital relationship. What is the solution here? If I see myself as being the victim, I will accuse my wife for wrong behavior. I will tell my wife that she's up to something, that she's betraying me, that she's leaving me. As a result, I will constantly create fights, animosity. It will be living hell on earth. Just because I am projecting my own flaws into my wife. If I see myself as being a responsible individual, it means I will ask myself, how am I contributing to the current situation? Why do I think that my wife belongs to me? If I allow myself the freedom to be with other people, if I know that I was born free and I don't like anyone to take my freedom away, why is it that I think I have the right to take the freedom of my wife away? And whenever we take someone else's freedom away, we are not actually bringing them closer to us. We are pushing them away. Because the more we try to create our customized prison for our loved one, the more they will escape through our fingers. I have to take care of my jealousy. I have to study the roots of my jealousy. There are so many reasons why someone has become such a controller, such a jealous individual. One of the theories it can be that the little boy, when he was 5 years old, his mother died. His mother was the center of his universe. It meant everything for him. And suddenly, the special being disappeared. So now, as a grown man, unconsciously, he hides the fear that he can lose someone that he cares so much. So he overly protects the relationship by creating jealousy. And obviously, this is a very unhealthy way to be with someone else. The subject is very extensive, but unfortunately, we are running out of time. We want to tell our viewers that if you want to know more in depth of all this information we're discussing in our episode for Spiritism Philosophy for All, this episode of victim versus being responsible, we suggest that you read the Spirit's book. And we always ask individuals not to believe a word that you're going to read in this book. We want you to ponder for yourself the information. We want you to rationalize the content of the information. Because this is not about belief. This is about understanding that we are the architects of our own lives. And only when we become fully aware of our potential, and most importantly, our flaws and imperfections that are holding us back from growing, is when we will truly achieve peace on this earth. Thank you so much for your viewing.